Hey friends, welcome back to the Vintage Drum Restoration Garage, and this is part 2 of that video on the Slingerland Artist model from 1936. And we're going to skip forward on the restoration by working on this throw-off, and so that's where I'm going to take off from on this video. Show you what I do with the throw off, and then we're going to work on the bearing edges. So stick with me and we'll get through this, and I'll show you how I'm going to do those things, and then we're going to do the assembly of the drum through in this video. So it should be really cool. Stick around. Okay guys, I'm working on the finish on that drum, but I'm not going to show you any more of that process because we've gone over that in other videos. Right now I'm getting all the parts ready, and I've disassembled this throw-off that I'm using, and I've taken the pin, the screw pin, out of the assembly here. This top part here comes right out. It's just splined. You can see the splines on there going this way. I'll show you how we do that real quick, just so you know. And you get yourself a vise, and you have to put some rubber jaw protectors, because you got all this this gripping surface here. It'll ruin the threads. You don't want that. So either use that or some wooden jaws. I made these. They work great. Anything to protect the threads, and you just put the threads in there, in the jaws, tighten them up lightly. Let's say that this were on right now. I'm going to tap it on because I've already done what I need to do. So I'll just tap that on real quick. So what we do here is, actually I just did that wrong, so that's okay. I need to take that back off again. So that's a good thing. What I do is I take and I put a claw hammer here, and I just take another hammer here and I just tap the handle part off of here. See, there it is. It just came right off, and pull it out of there. Nothing wrong with it. So I'll take this out, and what I was going to show you here is that I chased the threads with this is a 1032 die. And what we're doing is we're chasing the threads. I've already done this, but I want these threads to work like butter. So I chase them down. I've just done that, so I don't need to go all the way up. But I would go all the way up, maybe add a little oil. Just anything to make it run a little smoother. And get it all the way up, and then bring it back down. And then I might even clean these threads with my wire brush, just to make them super clean. And then also take a 1032 tap and go through your loom of your strainer. I just did this one here. Now these threads are working absolutely like butter, and it's going to help the sound of your drum because you'll be able to tune it real easily. See how easily they move? I don't even have the handle on there. So that's something I strongly recommend, and it works really good. Just go to your local hardware store and get yourself a 1032. In this circumstance, it's a Slingerland Radio King. That's what this thread pattern is. you'd need a 1032 die and a 1032 tap. Better to just get the whole set. You can get a decent set relatively cheap. So I just wanted to go over that with you. Make sure you understand that that's really important. So to put this thing back together, I did it wrong the first time, but this actually goes, you know what, I'm going to clean this part first. Set you up over here so you can see what I'm doing. I've got my little wheels here. Clean this thing all up real good. Those are expensive brass wheels. Those aren't the kind you get at Harbor Freight, so don't use those. Those are junk and they'll ruin your metal. Okay, so getting back to this, installing all this. I just cleaned that part. I'm going to get my knob and my threaded rod. I'm going to put the threaded rod inside the vise. Let's see here. Actually, no. You want to install this like this first. This goes in, whoops, sorry. You weren't in the picture. This goes in this part first. Then the cap or the knob goes on. Make sure it fits in the splines right. Then you're ready to tap it on there. So to do that, I would just put it in the jaws here. Make sure you got it in there real good. And just tap it gently. You could put a piece of wood on it if you don't want to scratch it, and that's what I'll do here. And there it is. It's all nice. Ready to rock and roll. And of course it spins real nice and everything. And look, we'll put a little bit of oil on there. I mean, you want this thing working super smooth. So, set you guys up here. Here's my throw off I'm using. This is the old throw off with the threaded section here. And I had to handle this. Of course, I had this throw off. I did not have the throw off. I mean, look at that. I'm going to have to straighten all this. I'll show you how I do that too. Look, a lot of guys just don't. They think everything's going to break. It's not going to break. How I'll do this is I'll put this in the vise. You got to use your eyes, and I'll put this in here in my jaws. Actually, I'll do it this way because it'll hold it better. And then all you need to do is lightly tap these. They're not going to break. And use your eyes. And then this one got bent this way, so then you bring it over to your drum, look at it, look at the holes, see if they fit the pattern, and look at that. It's not perfect yet, but I'm getting there. So looks like this one needs to come down. So I'll put it back in here. Let me back you up a little bit here. And I'll get a little, I'll get a punch here. And I'll just tap this here. This stuff is not really, it bends really easily. So let's see, how am I going to do this? Just 1 second. Okay, now I put this vise, I put this the throw-off lever in the vise, and I'm going to use a nice pair of wire cutter dikes. They're heavy duty, and I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to straighten this out. Let's put it like this. That'll hold it better. I'll hold it like that. And I'm just going to get in here with these. I'm going to slowly bend this thing down here. That one looks better. What happened was is this drum got obviously dropped. Whatever drum it was on, I don't know what it was on. I got it out of a parts bin out of a music store years ago, I'm sure. So I'm going to straighten this one here again. Just have to be patient, and so that's looking a lot better. Look at that. That's nice and square here. This side is not, and look at the throw off is not, it's not operating right. Look at, I have to use pliers to get it to move. So I'll put it on the on position. And you can see it's going up, and it's going up like this. So if I can get this thing to stay in here like this maybe, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a hammer in here and use another hammer to tap on this thing, try to get it to go back down. Not worried about the foot so much as I'm worried about the body. We've got to get this thing to operate smoothly. Yeah, that's working a lot better. Let's put a little glue in, or dry oil in there. Not glue. Yeah, that's working a lot better. So now we've got it flat straight across here. We've got to get this foot back this way. So I'm just going to put this in the vise again. If you guys don't have a vise, you better get one, because you're going to work on drums. It's absolutely imperative. Let's see here. Let me get a pair of needle nose in there. Now what we'll do is we'll take this over to the drum. I'm going to loosen this thing up a little bit more, get it to really work easily. Yeah, that works pretty good now. It's still not right here. In this case, you can just use the dikes here. It's looking a lot better. It's taken quite a bit of bending, but this section in here is all brass. This is all brass, nickel over brass, so it'll bend. This is steel here. This handle is steel, This other stuff, it's just brass. It'll bend easily. Let me go check this with the drum and see if we've got it. Okay guys, well it's looking really good, and it's fitting the holes, and I just did that by eye and I got it. So I'm sure, you know, if you put a little bit of work into it, don't go buying a new one. They're going to be, you know, these guys on eBay, they're asking $200, $300 for these throw-offs, and they are repairable. Okay, so to put the thing back together, you just need to, this first, this is your on-off adjuster part. Sometimes I put them on this way. You got to get them over that. Okay, so this got closed a little bit, so we're gonna have to open this back up. Just take it back over here and open it up. I can see what happened. One of these came in a little bit. So we'll just work on that for a second. I'll put these rubber jaw protectors back in here. And we'll put this part in here. And sometimes you can just okay. Sometimes you correct things and then you have to go over and correct things that you use to correct other things, if that makes any sense. But in this case, we brought these parts back in a little bit much. No big deal. I'll just use a punch here. I put it in here. It's sitting inside the jaws. I'll move you back so I got some room to work. And I'm just going to give this guy a little tap here. Now I'm going to see if that part goes in there easily. Yep, it goes in. Okay, we're back to normal, and I'll show you how this thing goes back together. I think you guys know, but some guys have asked, hey, you didn't show us how the throw-off went back together. Okay, let's do that. So we've got that part in there. This thing needs to slide around in here real easily. That pin needs to go through this little loopy thing. Oh, my cat's crying. There he is. Oh, and my tortoise is coming at him. He's not afraid of the tortoise. Okay. Anyway. Okay, and then we've got that part in there. Now let's see how this thing works, since we cleaned all those threads. Oh boy, that's beautiful. Let's see, something's a little binding here, and it's not the threads. Just a second here. Okay, and there she is. For a 90-year-old throw-off, she works pretty good. As you can see, she's coming up and down. They don't have the widest throw. I'd say maybe 3/8 of an inch throw on these, which is plenty if you've got your chords adjusted correctly. This particular knob did not go on this drum, this throw-off, because those get lost, and I don't know. I found this in my parts bin of screws and things. I thought it looked period correct. Has a nice knurling around here, and I put a thick washer behind it. And I've got my Slingerland Radio King, well, it just says Slingerland on it, I believe, which is period correct for this drum. And it's got the holes for the chords. So that's what's going to go on the drum. I'm just getting all the parts ready for it, and I'll install everything. I'll show you what I'm doing next. All right. Okay, while we're waiting for this shell to completely dry, well, this is lacquer, so it dries to the touch. Well, depending on your temperature, almost in minutes. Okay, so it's dry to the touch. Now, these bearing edges, this is a drum I'm going to play. I don't really want it for, you know, calf heads, which are more forgiving for out of whack bearing edges. And so what I've done is I put it on my flat board with sandpaper on it and trued it, and as you can see, there's more wood showing in places and less in others, especially right in this area. That is as far as I'm going to go with it, because this is flat now. This drum is now flat. Of course, these are the beds here. These, you leave them alone. And if you look all the way around here, it's showing where I went around it. So I'm going to go over these bearing edges, and I'll show you what I do. I've done this in other episodes, but I'll just show you real quick what I do. Okay, I do my bearing edges by hand, not with routers. It's the old way, but it's tried and true. It works great for me, and I get really good results. This is a 4-sided file. One has a crown to it. One side, that's the side I start with. I don't use, actually I use just the crown side for bearing edges. So I don't use the flat side. Alright, one side's really rough, one side's smoother. I start out with the really rough one. If you've never done this before, start out with a shell you don't care about. So I've started on this side, and this drum was painted white originally, so, well, number one, I want to get rid of the white, and number two, I want these bearing edges to be not at 45, but more at maybe 35 degrees. I want them to look original. This drum will look original, look like it was never been done. So I don't go 45. So I just take the rough edge and I go out here to the edge, almost to the edge, and I work my way down, and I'm always looking at that edge there, because I don't want to go over, I just want to go up to. And then I go this way with it to get the very coarse lines out of it. Like I say, if you've never done this before, you need to take a shell you don't care about. This is a solid maple shell. I don't want it to get ruined. So here I go again. I'm starting a new area. You can just about see it's just rolled over just on the crest of it. What I'm going to do with this area here is you would have to take this reinforcement ring apart, it rolls over to about here is where it ends. You'd have to take it apart to get it to glue up against here. I'm just going to fill this void with glue, which I've done in the past. It works good, and then it won't go anymore. I don't want my edges to be really sharp either. I'm not really into that sound. That's a more modern sound. It's great for if you want that sound, but I want them to, I want about a, let's say, 1/8 of an inch of wood on my head. Whereas the modern sound would be more like a 1/16 of an inch on your head. I'm always feeling here to see where I'm at with this thing. I'm just about done with this side. Now it's important to know where you started, so I've got a reference point. I'm right at the butt plate, and at that right of the butt plate. So I'm going to start here. I'm using the other side of the file, not the rough side, the more smooth side. Now this is going to give me my final cut. And I just work my way around here really carefully. Alright, so now we've gone over that, we finished our smoother side of the file side on this, and now what I do is I think you can get these at Harbor Freight, or I think over there at Home Depot too. This is a pretty good little block. I think the grit feels like about, I don't know, maybe 120 grit maybe. I don't know. It feels smooth enough to do what I'm doing here, and I just go around here, and I think I started here already, and I just work my way around here. Once again, don't want to go over the edge, just trying to get all those lines out of there. You can hear them, you can hear that sound, and it's trying to get all that, these lines here. We'll get these edges really smooth. I knew a guy who, I think it was back in the late 80s, a guy named Paul Blyfus. He was from San Diego, but he used to do really fine woodworking, and he was really great at refinishing drums. And he did some really great edge work too, and he really took his time. He would sand them through all kinds of different grits, and then he would tongue oil them several times. I mean, these edges look so beautiful. I think Paul died not long after that. He died in the early 90s. He was a great guy. He was a friend of Keplinger's and mine, and so that was a great loss. So we're just working our way around here, and I'm not sure if you want to do this. You could probably do this too. Work your way around this way too. This isn't a bad way to do it either. You can start feeling it getting nice and round and beautiful. I'm not going to do the Paul Blyfus edges. I don't think it's necessary, but it's artwork really, but I'm not going to take that much time to finish them. I don't think it makes that much difference to the sound. So I will go over this with a real fine grit paper after I'm done here. I don't know how fine, maybe 300, maybe 280. Okay, I don't know where that battery, where I ended in what you were listening to, but the battery did die. So I was just saying that I'm going to be going over this with a 320 grit now. I got my sanding block here. I don't know if I'm going to use it. I usually just use my hands, but let's just try this, the sanding block. Just want to get all those marks out of this. And sometimes I go over this, actually I usually put Johnson's floor wax on my edges after, just to finish it up. Still see some lines right there. I'm always careful to not get any sandpaper at the very apex of that cut. Okay. Very smooth now. Nothing like that Radio King bearing edge. I like what the shells they made, but they weren't real precise in their bearing edges. But I like the angle they used. And especially the shells, these solid maple shells are just incredible. Okay, so that's looking pretty good, and then I'll start on the other side and do the same thing. Hey, check it out. That's about how much wood you're going to have left on your table. Quite a bit, huh? But you're taking it off both sides of the drum, so. Okay, now I'm going to blow these edges out with the air, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do to glue these seams. Okay, now I'm putting this woodworker's glue in these, I wouldn't call them cracks, they're just delaminations, basically what they are. And trying to fill that in. It can take a few times to do it, so it's not an overnight success. Once I'm done with this, I will go over it with a wet cloth. Let me get that. Okay, now I'm going to do this one here. Lay a track of glue on there. And to put that glue in there, I'm just using my sanding rubber block on there. It tends to push it in there pretty good. And I'll just wipe it off real quick. Then I'll let these two places dry. I'll come back and go over them again, and then I'll do the other side. Hey guys, here's another thing I do. I think I've told you guys about this, but if I haven't, here's something I do with these tension rods. I clean them up really good. I use my wire wheel. I clean all the outsides here. These are chrome plated, so they clean it really easily. And I go over the threads too. And then they turn out really nice like that. But here's another thing I do. I'm big into cleaning threads because I think that it not only makes your drum easier to tune, but here's one that hasn't been cleaned in, I don't know, maybe since it was new. So I'll take it and I'll put it in my 1224 die, and I'll just show you the amount of junk that comes out of these threads. Let me just do it right here. Oh, I put it in my drill, but I run it real slow because I don't want it to bind up. So here we go. Just watch the stuff that starts coming out of there. Can you see it? Whoops. I don't know if you can look in there and see that there's all kinds of stuff in there. It's hard to picture. Let me just take it out of there. Let me do another one. And look at how nice those threads look now. Let me just do another one. I mean, I can see the dirt right inside these little holes here. You can see it piling up. It's amazing how much. And I don't know if you can see this, but I'll try to make it to where you can see it. It's amazing how much dirt is coming out of there. It really is. Now I'm just gonna show you what, if I can. You can see in there, look at all that dirt in there. It's just amazing how much crap builds up in there. And then what I'll do is I'll take my air hose, my air tool here, and it's going to blow it. Clean your dye out, and then I'll do that to the lugs too. I'll put a tap in there and try to get them all nice and clean, because I think that it makes a big difference in tuning. Oh yeah, all kinds of stuff coming out of this. I wish I could show you. It's amazing. I mean, these drums are, coming up on 100 years old, so you might even want to do it twice, really. You could just do it twice and really do a good job. But once would be adequate. I'll do this one again, see if I see any more. See, so it goes right in there nicely. Yeah, so that's just one thing I do there. So I'm going to show you what I do with the lugs too. I'll take the lugs and run a tap in there and clean all these threads out real good. And man, those things are going to tune up just nicely. Look at all the stuff on that tap there. You can see it in the groove there. So let's do this side now. You can see that stuff coming out of there, I'm telling you. It's amazing how much crap is built up in there over the years. Be careful not to cross-thread them though. Look at all that stuff inside there. See, so it only takes a minute to do, and then cleans all that stuff out of there, and you just get more true tuning. I see these I see these drum tuning, these torque tuning machine thingies. I think Tama makes one, and I always think, yeah, but the threads could be all dirty and everything, and you're not going to get a true torque. The best way to really tune a drum is by your ear and just by tapping around the head nearest the tension rods to try to get them as in tune. But I just kind of laugh at these torque machine thingies, because if the threads are dirty, well, then that's going to make the torque not as accurate, isn't it? Prove me wrong. Well, this is assembly day. Trying to get this beauty back together. We've got the badge back on and all the lugs. Got the throw off all rebuilt, and put that back on. The tone control. We've got the butt plate on there. And it's looking pretty good. I'll bring you back when we've got a little more progress. Hey guys, here's a little tip for you. I'm kind of into these old Slingerland I think they used to call them James snares, but they're Slingerland, and they look like these are the ends on them. They're from the 60s and 50s. These are like the really stretched out models. They made a couple different versions that were tighter. Oh, here's a set here that I have that are a little bit tighter weave. Okay, see that tighter weave? Look at these. They're real loose. They get a particularly beautiful sound with these solid maple shells. I don't know if you're aware of it, but these wires are off of a 60s Artist model, and they came with a band on only one side, and you put that in your butt plate, and it was supposed to have a hole in the hoop right here, but I'm trying it out with this bulge tube, and so I love the sound of these, and you might want to try it out sometime. You could even make a set of wires with a band on just one side. Just get yourself some thin brass steel or brass, just some thin brass sheet, sorry, and just cut it off and rivet it on the end of your wires, and you might enjoy that sound. Well, there she is, folks. 1936 or 7 or 8, somewhere in there. Early Artist model. This is a 30s model and solid maple, 6.5. Taking our time and cleaned her all up. Got some battle scars, but it's really a beautiful drum. I would give you a demonstration, but got some company over and I can't make some noise. So it's looking pretty good, I think, and maybe you got something out of this, maybe you didn't, I don't know. Give me a thumbs up if you like it. Give me a thumbs down if you don't. I don't know, doesn't matter to me. It's all free, it doesn't cost you anything. You just tune in and see if you like it. So I use an ambassador top head and an ambassador bottom head. That's what I use, along with these snare wires, and haven't really tuned it up yet. I think the snare wires need to get a little tighter for me, and but it's looking pretty nice, and I'm happy with it anyway. So we'll catch you on the next version of Vintage Drum Restoration Garage, and till then, y'all take care now.